ओम शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वंदे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेद विभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः. In this class we are studying Badarayana Vyasa's Sharirika Mimamsa Shastra, and we are studying only the first four sutras. It is popularly known as Brahma Sutra, and these first four sutras are named as Chatusutri. And we are studying it with the help of Shankaracharya's commentary. And now last time we reached the introduction to the fourth sutra. Let us revive the whole thing in the mind. In the introductory commentary called Adhyas Bhashya, Acharya has made us aware that when we say I, we mean consciousness. When we say you, we mean matter. And consciousness and matter have nothing in common. And yet, our practical life is a mixture of the two. Somehow, we couple up something real and something unreal. And so, it is based upon a false knowledge. And we are bound by it. We are getting suffocated by it. We are bound from all sides by it, by our wrong knowledge, by our false knowledge. And so we must cultivate real knowledge to get out of it. And this real knowledge is contained in what is called the Upanishads or Vedanta, primarily. And from those Upanishads, Badarayana Vyas has taken sentences and through a thread, he has garlanded it. He has not used any fresh logic, but he has systematically arranged the sentences. That is his work. And in the first sutra we read, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. And we heard that Atha is not after something, but in continuation with something. And that something is our attempt at doing whatever we feel will be conducive to this realization. And Atha means therefore, because the Vedic Karma Kanda may give us heaven, but that heaven can never be permanent, and we may sometimes go astray also. While the knowledge given in the Upanishads will remove our ignorance forever, and so we will be free, we will be perfect. Therefore, we must have a keen desire to realize Brahman, which will not stop till we realize it. That is the meaning of Jigyasa. And we want to know Brahman, not many things about Brahman, because that will digress our mind. We want to focus to know Brahman. And while doing that, whatever is necessary, we shall automatically know. And what is Brahman? The very word Brahman shows that it is the greatest. Not the biggest, not physically greatest. Greatest in all respects. And it cannot be greatest in all respects unless it is free, it is eternal, it is the cause of the Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya of this world. It is the all-pervading reality. It is the transcendent reality. That all comes by the very meaning of the word Brahman, because it is the greatest. And in the second sutra, specific way of getting that reality is being told by defining Brahman, Janmadi Asya Yataha. Asya means the world we perceive, imagine, think, feel, see, and we must search for the cause when this world did not exist. We must think of that time or that condition when the world was not there. Then only we can understand what is the real nature of the world. And we must also think, when the world exists, how does it continue? Because it is discontinuous. Everything in the world and the world itself is Kshanabhangur, goes into destruction every moment. Then how does it sustain? What it is that which sustains it? And one day it will vanish. Can it vanish? Or it will go back to its source. In this way, if we think from this known, the unknown, then we will understand what is Brahman and how to realize it. Now the question is how to realize it. And the third sutra, on one side it tells us that it is all-knowing because it has given the Shastra. Shastras mean the Vedas, and Vedas are the highest authority, and if the Vedas have come from him, then he is definitely all-knowing. But the import of the third sutra, Shastra Yonitvat, is the other meaning. How to know this? How to know Brahman? What is the source? And there we are told Shastras. That means Vedas. They are the only source of realizing Brahman. That is the Shastra Yonitvat. Shastra is the yoni or cause or means of knowledge of knowing that Brahman, knowing which our life becomes fulfilled. So now the doubt comes here. And the doubt comes here because before Vyasa wrote this, Gemini had already written what we call as Mimamsa or Purva Mimamsa. Taking Vedas to mean the Karma Kanda of the Vedas, Gemini told us that we start reading again now. Katham Punah Brahmana Shastra Pramana Tattva Uchyate. How do you say that Brahman is Shastra Praman? That means the source of knowing Brahman is the Shastra Yavata, because Amna Yasya Kriyarthatvat Anarthakyam Atadarthanam Iti Kriyaparatnam Shastrasya Padarshitam. Because in the first chapter of Gemini Sutras, 1-1, first chapter, second section, first sutra, Gemini has said that Amnaya means Ved, Kriyarthatvat. Vedas are meant for prompting us to good action. Atadarthanam anarthakyam. So if there are sentences which do not have any connection with work, then they are meaningless. When Gemini has already shown that Shastras are meant for karma, then how do you say, how can we understand that Shastras will give us knowledge of Brahman? Ata Vedantanam anarthakyam akriyarthatvat. So because Gemini has said like this, so whole Vedanta, all Upanishads are meaningless because they do not deal with some karma. Now, or they can be meaningful if we taken them in a different sense. Kartru Devatadi Prakashana Arthatvena va Kriya Vidisheshatvam Upasana Adi Kriyantara Vidhana Arthatvam va. Two alternates are given. we have to feel that Shastras are the sources of knowing Brahman, because when we have to do karma, then we have to know who we are, and we have to know for Devata Swarup for whom we are doing this karma. So because Vedanta reveals our real nature and the real nature of the Devatas, Brahman or whatever Devata, so Kriya Vidhi Sheshatvam, it becomes a part of prompting for work. It becomes a part of prompting for work, so it is meaningful. Vedanta can be thought of meaningful only if it reveals our nature and the nature of the Devatas, because then while doing work, we know who is doing and for whom he is doing. And so they are part of work. Or there is another thing, that it has a different section, it has a different chapter, it has a different topic. Why not think like that? Your Veda, karma is all right, we accept it, so far as the karma kanda is concerned. But these are not karma kandas. Vedantas are different. Then we think that, oh, upasana is being taught. In the Upanishads, upasana is being taught. Upasana means mental worship. Suppose a man is fed up with the gross world. He goes into the forest, and there, without any gross means, mentally he worships God. And how to worship mentally? That for that these Upanishads may be there. Upasana Adi. Upasana Adi. Adi means this knowledge also is taken as a Kriya. So Upasana Adi, meditation of different types, Kriyantar, which is also Kriya, but of a different type. We are not doing anything physically, but mentally we are active. So, in order to show a different side of mental actions and how good mental actions can be done, for that, Arthatvamba. So it becomes meaningful. These are the two ways in which Vedanta can be thought of being useful. For what? For it becomes meaningful, that's all. The original proposition is that Vedanta is the means of knowing Brahman. So that is absolutely not accepted, because Vedas are for karma. And so it can be meaningful. That means, first of all, the meaningfulness of Vedanta is to be discussed. That Vedanta has no meaning because they do not lead to karma. They can become meaningful if they teach us an aspect of that karma by telling our real nature and the real nature of the Devatas. Or if we think it is a separate chapter, then it deals with karma in a different level. Instead of the gross karma, it is telling about the subtle mental worship. Nahi parinishthita vastu pratipadanam sambhavati. Parinishthita vastu, you say that very name Brahman has told us that it exists and it is of such and such a nature. So if the nature of a thing is fixed, then why will they state about it? Parinishthita vastu pratipadanam na sambhavati. We are telling like this because he means because. We are talking that Vedanta will become meaningful only as part of karma or as upasana, because if the thing is already fixed, if the nature of a thing is already fixed, then Vedanta or nobody will discuss about it. What is the real nature? Real nature is already known by the word Brahman. Pratyaksha adi vishayatvat. If the nature of a thing is fixed, It means that we can see it, we can infer it, we can use some other pramanas. If the nature of a thing is fixed or known, we can know that thing by pratyaksha or anuman upman by some praman. Pratyakshadi vishayatvat parinishchita vastuna. If the nature of a thing is already fixed, definitely we can see it or feel it or infer it. And tat pratipadanecha eye upadaye rahite purushartha abhavat. And if you are only stating the nature of that thing, then what is to be given up and what is to be taken up, that is not told. You are not telling what is to be taken up, what is to be given up, because that is the work of the karma kanda. And when it is nothing to do with, we are not to give up anything, we are not to take anything, then what it will suffice for the fulfillment of our life? Purushartha abhavat. If we are not doing any karma, if we are not doing any upasana, and if we are not asked to give up something or to accept something, then how it gets connected with our means of fulfillment? Atayeva, therefore, there are some sentences in the Karma Kanda which have no direct connection with karma, but indirectly they get connected with karma. So it should be like that. Sa arodit iti evam adinam anarthakyam mabhut. There is a sentence in Yajurveda, he wept. Now how it is connected with any work? He wept, from that tears came, and the shining color of the tears is like silver. So silver is not pure, gold should be used. Such indirect link of knowledge comes. Sentence he wept will not give us any idea of karma. But he wept, and that tears are like silver. So silver comes out of weeping. So silver is a lower type of metal. For particular works, you have to accept gold only, not silver. By such parampara, we understand that it is a part of work because gold is to be used. Iti evam adinam anarthakyam mabhuditi. Iti evam adinam. There are some other sentences also like that. They do not become meaningless because within karma kanda also such sentences are there. If whole Vedas is only karma, how that sentence comes in karma kanda? It would also become meaningless. No, it will not become meaningless if we understand like this, like this, like this, like this. It means that gold should be used. So it gets connected with karma. Videna tu eka vakyatva sutyarthena vidinam shiv. Stutyarthena. Stuti includes ninda also. Huh? If something is praised or something is blamed, it should have a meaning about the sentences directly prompting us to do work. It should have the same meaning as work, as sentences prompting work. If any other sentence is there, it should always be in unison with, have the same meaning as the sentences doing work. So, like this, like this, like this, if we see, then that also is conducive to work. Stavakena, because it is praising something or blaming something, arthavatvam uttam. So, Gemini has shown that these sentences also are meaningful in the way of praising or blaming something, the
Hmm.
meaning of which will come some work only. Now some other type of sentence. मंत्राणां च ईशेत्वा इत्यादीनां क्रिया तत् साधन अभिधायत्वेन कर्म समवायित्वम् उक्तम्. Now, for getting power, you what? Then we have to add there. I break you. Some tree is there, and we have to break it, and then we make some juice out of it. And so, finally it comes to some work. Finally it comes to karma samavayitvam. That means an accessory of karma. You does not mean any karma, but I break you for making a juice which I will use in karma in this way also. Some praise and blame and some incomplete sentences. Praise and blame gets connected because by parampara, by a long connection, it becomes part of work. And incomplete sentences, if we complete them, then also they become work. न क्वचिदपि वेदवाक्यानां विधि संस्पर्शम अंतरेण अर्थवत्ता दृष्टा उपपन्ना वा. By the sentences of the Vedas, vidhi sansparsham antareణ, some connection with prompting for work. Without that, we have not seen any meaning. And by logic, we cannot find any meaning. Neither we have seen any meaning, nor we can find some logic by which some meaning can be found. If the sentences do not get connected with work. Now, what is left? Parinishthita vastu. That means the thing of which the nature has already been determined by the very word Brahman. Nacha parinishthite vastu swarupe vidhi sambhavati kriya vishayatvat videhe. Vidhi means a Vedic sentence. Now, parinishthita vastu swarupe, by only telling the real nature of that thing which is already known, it cannot have any connection with any kriya. Tasmat, therefore, karma apekshita kartru swarupa devata adi prakashena kriya vidisheshatvam vedantana. So all the Vedantas can be accepted only if they are telling us what is our real nature and what is the real nature of Devatas. In this way, if that becomes part of our work, then we can accept it as a part of Kriya Vidhi, all the Vedantas. Atha Prakaranantar Bhayat, that means when we take into consideration it's a different chapter, then we are afraid that how it can get connected with karma. It is not karma chapter, it is a different chapter. So a fear comes that how it can be connected with karma when it is a different chapter. Na etat abhipagamyate, we cannot connect it with karma. Tathapi, swavyagata upasanadi karma paratvam. Then what they are teaching is upasana. Upasana is a mental work. If it is not connected directly with physical work, then it is connected with mental work. That is the only thing we can understand. Tasmat na brahmana shastra yonitvam iti prapte uchate. So, shastras are not the means of knowledge of Brahman. Vedanta shastras are either useful in work by some connection, or they may define mental work, but in any case, they are not the source of knowledge of Brahman. Such a parampara of thinking arises due to Gemini having told us that Vedas are meant for work, and anything which is not connection with work is meaningless. Because this has entered our head, so we say that whether it is not connect, it has no meaning other than somehow getting connected with work. This arises in our mind, iti prapte, uchyate. To that, Badarayana is replying by the fourth sutra. So, in the third sutra, we are told, Shastras are the source of knowing Brahman. In that, an objection has come in our mind due to our mind being infilled with Gemini's declaration that Vedas are meant for work. What is the fourth sutra? Tat tu samanvaya. Tat tu samanvaya. In the Sanskrit syntax, this word tu we find after one or two words. But to get its meaning, we have to use it first. But in English, we start a sentence by but. In Sanskrit, after one or two words, that but is put. So this one has to understand. So here tu has come. That means but. Now what is but? But means this is what you say, but it is not right. We have heard what the Gemini has said. And we have heard that therefore Vedantas are no means of knowing Brahman, but we feel differently. But not we feel, but the actual fact is different. But the actual truth is different, not what Gemini has told. Now, what Gemini has told, we accept. We accept. So far as man has not developed that atha, man has not developed the awakening that he wants to get rid of the false knowledge. And so he engages himself in work only. There Gemini thinks is very valid. Please remember, some friend of mine said that now in the fourth sutra, lot of khandan will come. Lot of criticizing others will come. I said, no, we find no criticism. Samanvayat. That means finding the proper place for everything, that is Samanvaya. Samanvaya, harmony. What is harmony? We know some word, harmonium. Now, if the swaras are played in a particular order, if the notes are played in a particular order, we get music. If two swaras, two notes are played or sung together, we get harmony. If they are played one after the other, we get a melody. So, this is called harmony. No swara is useless. Those who know music, in a particular raga or scale, they call something as prativadi, opposite to adi. But that also is useful sometimes. So it is not a question of rejecting something. It is a question of finding a proper place for everything. That is the meaning of word samanvaya. We shall see the meaning further. Samyak anvaya. Find out the proper syntax in a grammar. Find out where this word fits in, where this sentence fits in, where this chapter fits in the scheme of life. So long as we are not awakened, and nobody can force us the awakening, though Shankara has attempted in the introduction that if we can understand this, if we can feel this, as I told you several times, Swami Vivekananda in his 3 lectures on Maya has given hundreds of examples, so many examples to show our life is a contradiction. And when we realize that, then we are awakened. Where we are, what are we doing? We are working in a false knowledge. We are working in a hodgepodge contradiction. So how to come out of it? When that thing comes, then Vedanta is meaningful. Otherwise, we go on remaining in work, good work, bad work, good work, bad work, and it will never give a permanent result. Because work done is always finite. Result will always be finite. And so, this has a meaning. And if the karma kandis do not accept Vedanta at all, Vedanta is accept karma kand in its proper place. So long as the awakening has not come, man should not do any work whatsoever as per his desire. He must do good work to get good results. He must avoid bad work to avoid bad results. So long as the awakening has not come. So, this is what is called Tattu Samanvaya. That means Shastras become yoni for knowing Brahman. Shastras become source of knowing Brahman. But Shastras do become source of knowing Brahman if we understand Shastras in this way. Shastras means Vedas. Let us take Vedas in toto. Let us take Vedas both Karma Kanda and Upasana Kanda and Vedanta. In Vedanta, some Upasanas are discussed only to sharpen our mind. Karma is discussed to purify our mind. Upasanas are discussed to sharpen our mind. And then the possibility of knowledge comes. And so, it does not reject anything. Now, the full translation of the word Samanvayat will be like this. If we understand the place of each sentence of the Shastra, then we understand that ultimately all that is leading to Brahmajnana. You do karma, it will purify you. You do upasana, it will sharpen your mind, and then you get the awakening, and then you come to Vedanta. So ultimately your karma kanda also leading to Vedanta. Ultimately your upasana also will lead to Vedanta. We are not contradicting anything. So by seeing the syntax or the proper placing of any sentence, any part of the Vedas, we understand that they are all tending to giving you the knowledge of Brahman. Our vision becomes like this. Our attitude to study Vedas becomes like this. If we start seeing how it reconciles, how it harmonizes our aspiration to know Brahman, then we will find that karmas have been taught not for going to heaven. Karmas have been taught because we cannot keep quiet. Karmas have been taught so that we can purify our mind. Then only this awakening comes. Upasanas are a different section, okay? Upasanas are taught to sharpen our mind. Then only we can enter Vedanta. And then the Vedanta becomes meaningful. The Vedanta will give this knowledge directly. And you cannot say that giving knowledge directly is useless. If it gives us such a big thing, remove all our sorrows, imperfections, everything totally. Sorrows, imperfections, if they can be destroyed totally, simply because the cultivation of right knowledge, then are they not the most meaningful? That is the meaning of the word samanvaya. Here I want to make some little commentary. People think that Shankaracharya's philosophy is different, Vivekananda's philosophy is different, Ramakrishna's philosophy is different. I would tell them, unless you find the harmony between these three teachings, your understanding of Shankara is false, your understanding of Vivekananda is false. Tattu samanvayat. We can understand any scripture, any saying of a man of realization, not of Tom, Dick and Harry. Whether it is Upanishads, whether it is Shankaracharya, whether it is Ramakrishna, whether it is Vivekananda, whether it is the other disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, when we find harmony in their sentences, then only we are understanding it properly. Tattu samanvayat. We can find that the Shastras, all these are Shastras. Rishi Vakyas are Shastras. And so, let us expand the definition of the word Shastra. And then we will find that if we find there is a contradiction between Shankara and Vivekananda, you are not understanding. You are neither understanding Shankara nor understanding Vivekananda. Unless you find harmony between Shankaracharya and Vedanta, your understanding of Shankara is poor, your understanding of Vivekananda is poor. And this is how I was taught by my Guruji. Learning from Guruji, I never, even for a second, had this conflict. Even for a second, it never entered me that Shankara's teaching is different and Vivekananda's teaching is different. Because my teacher was a man of God. And so he would find samanvaya. I would again request all of you that if we study Shankaracharya from eyes given by Ramakrishna Vivekananda, will not find any conflict. If Bhagavan Buddha has said, we will not find any conflict between what Shankara has said and Buddha has said, if we understand properly. In this respect, I like to refer you to Madhyamaka Karika by Nagarjuna. It was supposed in Shankara's time, because Kumaril Bhatta had driven out Buddhas and their Buddhists and their books and everything from India. We did not know Madhyamaka Karika. And based upon Madhyamaka Karika, Shankar hits at Shunyavad. In 1950, I am telling you a little philosophical history. In 1950, when it was supposed that 2500 years have happened to Buddha, Government of India and Government of Bihar, they tried to retrieve all the Buddhistic scriptures from Pali, Prakrit, other languages. Many were re-Sanskritized. And then we found this Madhyamaka Karika. And in the first verse it says, Dve vidye samupashiritya buddhanam dharmadeshana loka samvriti satyam cha paramarthata. That means two levels of truth. Taking recourse to two levels of truth, Buddha has given his religious teaching. One level of truth is what people like us limit truth because of our wrong knowledge. Loka samvriti satyam. Satyam cha paramarthata. And satya, which is absolute truth. Now when Buddha says that everything is zero, we must understand that what we feel today as truth is zero. Not the absolute truth. So, This is the Samanvaya. Any man worth his salt, that's a man of realization. Any two people of realization, unless we find the harmony between them, our understanding is not proper. But Shastra will become source of knowledge of Brahman if we find the harmony. Now, let us go to the commentary. Tu Shabda Purva Paksha Vyavrutti Artha. So in explaining that tu word is taken first, tu is used for the removing of the Purva Paksha. That means just now we have been presented with the Purva Paksha. Following Jaimini's ideas in our mind, we have found that Vedanta has no meaning. The tu comes to refute that. Tu Shabda Purva Paksha Vyavrutti Artha, removal of that Purva Paksha. Now, what the meaning remains? Shastra Yonitvat, Tad Brahma Sarvagyam Sarvashakti Jagata Utpatti Sthiti Laya Karanam Vedanta Shastrat Eva Avagamate. The primary source of the knowledge of Brahman, which is Sarvajna, Sarvashaktiman, and the cause of the Srishti, Sthiti and Pralaya of the world is known. Known means realized. Known means fully known. Known means experienced. We have seen that already. Bhutavastu Vishayatvat Anubhava Avasanatvat Brahma Jnanasya and Avagati Parentam Jnanam. The very definition of Jigyasa was that till we completely obtain that, till we completely realize that, the desire will not stop. So this Avagati comes only from the Vedanta Shastra. Tad Brahma Sarvadnyam Sarvashakti Jagat Utpatti Sthiti Laya Karanam Vedanta Shastrat Eva Avagamyate. Katham Samanvayat. How? When we find the meaning in this way. When we find the meaning in this way, that where each sentence stands in our life, we will understand that it is ultimately leading us to the knowledge of Brahman. And then we will understand that Vedantas are giving us knowledge of Brahman. Sarveshu Vedanteshu Ajnani Tatparyena Etasya Arthasya Pratipadakatvena Samanugatani. So first he takes the Vedanta sentences, then he will apply to the whole Vedanta. So take the Vedanta, because Vedanta are being rejected. And so he says, Sarveshu Vedanteshu Akyani. Take any sentence from Vedanta. Tatparyena. Tatparya means ultimately leading to. Tatparya means ultimately leading to. Etasya arthasya. What meaning? Pratipadaka Samanugatani. This meaning that it is for the knowledge of Brahman. In that way, they are harmonious. In that way, we find the meaning. When we come to Vedanta, each sentence is meant that ultimately it will lead us to the knowledge of Brahman, then only it is proper understanding of Vedanta. Vedanta is properly understood only if each sentence is known to ultimately lead us to the knowledge of Brahman, then it has a meaning. Then it has the proper syntax. Example. Sateva Somya idam agre asit ekameva advitiyam atma va idam ekeva agre asit tad etad brahma apurvam anaparam anantam brahma abhayam ayam atma brahma sarva anubho Brahma eva idam amrutam purastat iti adini. He has chosen a few and says etc. all. Because when we say all, it should not be vague. We must have examples. And by taking examples, it should not mean that only those sentences. All, for example, this. And what are those sentences? Sat eva somya idam agre asi. Ekam eva advitiyam. We have been told that we should know the unknown from the known only by thinking that this world did not exist. So in that condition, what was there? It was existence only, one without a second. Oh, my dear fellow, this Aruni is teaching Shvetaketu in the Chandogya Upanishad. Oh, my dear son, idam agre asit, when this which you experience, agre means when it was not made, when it was not manifested. What it was? It was only existence. Now you'll find that existence, consciousness, and bliss, they are always together. So it was only existence, one without a second. Notice this without a second. That means we do see second, third, fourth, infinite. What are all those? They are the forms of that one. That one itself appears as many. This is the meaning. In the beginning, it was one only without a second. Then now what it is? That one has appeared in many forms. So, if we understand with a simple, straight, pure mind, we can understand Vedanta. Aitari Upanishad, Atma vai idam eka evagre asit. There, Sat was told, now name is given Atman. Atman means my reality, your reality, reality of all individuals is called Atman. That alone was there. So today also that is there. It has got manifested in names and forms. It has got manifested in association with so many things, but it is the same. Eka eva agre asit. Now in the third sentence, he has chosen sentences like that. First sentence calls it reality. Second sentence calls it our reality. Third sentence calls it the reality of the world. Tad etad Brahma, that this Brahman, apurvam anaparam, nothing before Brahman, nothing after Brahman. That means Brahman only is everything. Anantaram, nothing inside Brahman, different from it. Abhayam, nothing outside it, different from Brahman. I am Atma, Brahma, Sarvanubhu. This self itself is that Brahman. Both are come here. Sarvanubhu, the experiencer, are supreme. The real nature only experiences everything in the world. This little I, you do not experience. I experience through my eyes. Eyes do not experience, I experience. Similarly, I, you do not experience, the reality experiences through I, you and everybody. So that is what has been stated so clearly. Brahma eva idam amrutam purastat. Before the creation was there, Amruta, immortal Brahman was there. Amruta has two connotations, immortal and joy supreme. Our joys in this world are always impure. Our joys in this world are always mixed with sorrow. Our joys in this world are always temporary. But there is a joy which is pure. There is a joy which has no trace of misery. There is a joy which is permanent, that is called Amrita. And the other meaning of the word Amrita is immortal. So, this Brahman, the all-pervading reality, the transcendent, immanent reality, all-pervading, Sarvatita, Sarvagata, in the beginning, that was immortal, that was the permanent joy, iti adini. Several such sentences can be found in Vedanta, all of them telling in one word that giving us the knowledge of Brahman. And so, that is how it is meaningful. Now, न च तद्गतानां पदानां ब्रह्म स्वरूप विषय निश्चिते समन्वये अवगम्यमाने अर्थांतर कल्पना युक्ता श्रुत हानि अश्रुत कल्पना प्रसंगा. Now you want to derive some other meaning from these sentences, that they are parts of karma or they are upasana. All the words, na tad gatanam padanam, we have quoted sentences, all sentences from Vedanta, the words involved in the sentence, we find their proper syntax, samanvaya. We find their harmonious syntax by telling definitely the nature of that Brahman, by making us aware of the real nature of that Brahman. Avagamya mane, when we understand them like that, then why we should take some imagine, some other meaning? Shruta Hani, that means that is our intellect, not the meaning of the Vedantas. Vedanta's meaning will be destroying. Ashruta Kalpana, and what Vedanta is not told, that we are imagining. Prasanga, it happens like that. So, when all the words in those sentences are known harmoniously, proper syntax, that they are revealing the real nature of the transcendent immanent reality, and we know them in this way, then to find some other meaning, to imagine some other meaning, will be deviating from the meaning given by the Vedantas and imagining something different. Now, directly about this karma. न च तेषां कर्तृस्वरूप प्रतिपादन परता अवसीयते तत्केन कम पश्यति इत्यादि क्रियाकारक फल निराकरण श्रुते. Those Vedantic sentences will always tell us it is not about the karta swarup. Avasiyate. That means their meaning will not end in telling the karta swarup, because they will say tat kena kam pashyati. When we know Brahman, then who sees by what? So we'll find everything one without a second. There is no separate knower than Brahman. There is no separate instrument to know Brahman. Only Shastras we have heard and we have realized that. So it is so clearly stated there, Kriya Karaka Phala Nirakaran. That means in Karma Kanda, we are doing some action and there are so many factors of karma. And all that is being removed by the Shruti. Directly, the Vedanta Vakyas were removed. The idea of any karma and its accessories by the sentence, Tena Kamkash Pashet. So, Vedanta not only teaches us that one without a second reality is to be known, it also tells us that it does not depend upon karma that you are doing. Your karma, the doership in the karma, the subject-object relationship in the karma will be destroyed by those sentences. They will raise your consciousness to such a level that you will be out of the fold of karma. Now, the one point which was raised again and again is being directly taken up. न च परिनिष्ठित वस्तु स्वरूपत्वे अपि प्रत्यक्ष आदि विषयत्वं ब्रह्मणा. The nature of Brahman is fixed. Does not mean that we see it. The nature of Brahman is fixed in such a way that we do not see it. The nature of Brahman is fixed in such a way that we have to transcend our organs of perception. So this difference one has to understand. That the nature is fixed does not mean it becomes an object of our perception. So all those arguments were in vain. That if the nature is known, then we can see it or imagine it. That is wrong. Nature is known, that it is beyond senses. Nature is known, that it is not available to the ordinary senses of man. Nature is known, that I know you also does not reach there. So Parinishtita Vastu Swarupatve Api, because the nature of Brahman is such that it is fixed. Yet Pratyakshadi Vishayatvam Brahmana Nacha Pratyakshadi Vishayatvam Brahmana. Even then, it does not become the object of perception or other means of knowledge. Tattvamasi iti Brahma Atma Bhavasya Shastram Antarena An Avagamya Manatva. Now thou art that. That thou art. So that means Brahman. Thou means Atman. Brahman and Atman are identical, not different. Who will teach us except Vedanta? Only a man of realization can tell us that thou art. In the Kathopanishad, Ananya Prokte Gatiratra Nasti. This is not available to logic. This cannot be talked by Tom, Dick and Harry. Only a person who himself has realized that Brahman. That means he is not different from Brahman. And he tells us that you are not different from Brahman. And while telling, he does not say, I am teaching you. He says, you are not different from me. These three meanings are there in the Ananya Prokte. The teacher is not different from Brahman. The teacher is not different from me. And the teacher tells me that I am not different from Brahman. Then Gatiratra Nasti. The mind cannot go here and there. It will go to realize Brahman only. So that is the glory of this Tattvamasi. Who else can tell that? Who else can tell that? Unless one has realized that. So this is what Shastras will do to us. I think we stop here. Beautiful sentence after sentence is coming in the Shankar Bhashya to explain what it means by Tattva Samanvayat. And so, the basic thing is Tattva Samanvayat, remembering that we shall come back on the next Wednesday. Om Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kruto Vande Bhagavanto Puna Puna Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.